The ice sheets of Europa stretched endlessly beneath the research station, their crystalline surface reflecting Jupiter's distant glow. Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her hand against the reinforced viewing port, her breath fogging the glass as she studied the mysterious structure that had emerged from the ice just hours ago. After 15 years of searching for extraterrestrial life, humanity had finally found something, though not what anyone had expected. Initial scans complete, Dr. Chen, announced Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The structure's been down there for at least 3,000 years. Power signatures are minimal but present. Whatever it is, it's still alive. Sarah turned from the window, her dark eyes reflecting the determination that had made her the youngest lead xenobiologist in the Europa Research Initiative. Any signs of radiation or biological hazards? Nothing our suits can't handle, Marcus replied, brushing a strand of silver hair from his forehead. But Command wants us to wait for the military escort before we go down. Sarah's jaw tightened. We don't have time for that. The structure's power levels are fluctuating. If we wait 12 hours for a security team, we might lose whatever's down there forever. The discovery had been accidental, a routine ice core sample had revealed unusual energy readings, leading to the unearthing of what appeared to be an alien research facility. The structure's architecture defied Earth's engineering principles, its surfaces covered in swirling patterns that seemed to shift in the station's spotlights. I'm going down, Sarah announced, already moving toward the airlock. You can either help me suit up or report me to Command. Your choice. Marcus sighed, but his hands were already reaching for the environmental suit controls. You know I've got your back, but this is crazy even for you. We have no idea what's down there. Exactly, Sarah smiled, stepping into the suit as its seals hissed shut. That's why we have to go now. The descent to the alien structure took 20 minutes, their boots creating hollow echoes against the ice tunnel's walls. As they approached the facility's entrance, Sarah's suit sensors detected a faint vibration, like a heartbeat pulsing through the ice. Look at these markings, Marcus whispered, his headlamp illuminating the doorway. They're not just decorative. They're some kind of script. Sarah activated her suit's recording systems as she studied the patterns. They're changing. Responding to our presence. The swirls were indeed shifting, rearranging themselves into new configurations. It's a security system. Or a welcome mat. As if in response to her words, the entrance irised open, releasing a burst of stale air that their suits automatically analyzed. Breathable atmosphere, Marcus reported, surprise evident in his voice. Slightly higher oxygen content than Earth normal. Temperatures rising to habitable levels. They stepped inside, and soft lights activated along the corridors, creating an ethereal blue glow. The interior was both alien and somehow familiar, curved walls that seemed to flow like liquid metal, but with recognizable laboratory equipment visible through transparent panels. This was a research facility, Sarah breathed, moving from chamber to chamber. But what were they studying? Her question was answered as they entered a vast central room. Dozens of cylindrical tanks lined the walls, their surfaces frosted but clearly containing something within. Life support pods, Marcus said, checking his readings. Most are dead, but three are still active. Sarah approached the nearest active pod, wiping away the frost with her gloved hand. She gasped. Inside, suspended in a crystalline fluid, was a creature unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Its body was serpentine but covered in what appeared to be living crystal scales that pulsed with inner light. Multiple limbs were folded against its body, and its head bore a crown-like structure of transparent spines. They're in stasis, she realized, checking the other active pods. These weren't experiments, they were being protected. Preserved. As she touched the control panel of the central pod, a holographic display burst to life, filling the chamber with alien text that slowly transformed into English before their eyes. Translation software, Marcus whispered. Far beyond anything we have. The message was clear and devastating: Project Guardian terminated. Subjects deemed unsuitable for intended purpose. Facility decommissioned by order of the Nexary Evolutionary Council. Warning: subjects display unauthorized cognitive development and emotional capacity. Termination recommended but not executed due to Protocol 7249, Preservation of Sentient Life. They created them, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. Created them to be weapons or tools, but they became something more. Something their creators hadn't intended. So they abandoned them here, locked away in the ice. A soft chime emanated from the pods, and Sarah's suit sensors detected a critical power fluctuation. The stasis field is failing, Marcus warned. Without intervention, they'll die within hours. Sarah stood before the pods, facing the greatest decision of her career, perhaps of human history. These beings were engineered by an advanced alien civilization, potentially dangerous, and definitely not meant to be found by humanity. Protocol dictated she should wait for military oversight, for committees to debate, for bureaucrats to decide. But as she watched the crystalline scales flutter weakly, saw the complexity and beauty of these abandoned creatures, she knew she couldn't let them die. Not here, not like this. Marcus, she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of her decision, help me set up an emergency power link. We're going to save them. Sarah, this is beyond dangerous. We don't know what they are, what they're capable of. No, she agreed, already connecting power cables from their portable generators to the alien system. But we know what we're capable of. Humanity has always faced the unknown with courage and compassion. That's who we are. That's why we're here, 30 years after claiming it was impossible to establish a permanent base on Europa. As the power began to flow, the pod's light strengthened, and the creatures within stirred slightly. Sarah placed her hand against the crystal surface, and for a moment, just a moment, she thought she felt something brush against her mind, a touch of gratitude and hope. Command's going to lose their minds, Marcus muttered, but he was already helping stabilize the power flow. Probably, Sarah smiled behind her faceplate. But sometimes the right choice isn't the easy one. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts and hope that kindness isn't a mistake. As they worked to save the mysterious beings, Jupiter's light played across the ice above, casting ever-changing patterns through the ancient facility. Humanity had come to Europa looking for simple life, for microbes in the ice. Instead, they had found something far more complex, not just alien life, but alien lives, abandoned by their creators but preserved by conscience. And now, in the darkness beneath Europa's ice, a human scientist had chosen to give them a second chance, unknowingly setting in motion events that would change the course of both human and alien history forever. The Europa research station's quarantine lab hummed with tension as Sarah watched the last stasis pod power down. 72 hours had passed since their discovery, and Command was still arguing about proper procedures while she and her team worked to save lives. Colonel Diana Hayes stormed into the lab, her military uniform stark against the facility's sterile white walls. Dr. Chen, you've violated at least 15 protocols. I should have you arrested right now. Sarah didn't look up from her monitors. With respect, Colonel, I don't answer to the military. This is a scientific expedition, and I made a scientific judgment call. A judgment call? Hayes's voice cracked with disbelief. You activated unknown alien technology and are now reviving engineered beings that their own creators deemed dangerous enough to abandon. The argument was interrupted by a soft crystalline chime. The largest of the three beings was awakening, its scales shifting from deep azure to a luminescent silver. Its eyes opened, all four of them, revealing irises that swirled with galaxies of color. Incredible, breathed Dr. Rodriguez, who hadn't left Sarah's side since their discovery. Their biology, it's like nothing we've ever seen. The crystalline structures aren't just decorative, they're part of their nervous system. The creature uncurled its lengthy form, revealing a body that seemed to flow like liquid mercury beneath its crystalline scales. Its crown of transparent spines began to pulse with soft light, and suddenly everyone in the room felt a gentle pressure in their minds. "They're telepathic," Sarah whispered, fighting the urge to step back as the being's consciousness brushed against hers. Images flooded her mind, stars burning out, civilizations rising and falling, and a profound sense of purpose twisted by fear and ambition. "We are the Guardians," a voice echoed in their thoughts, neither male or female but somehow both. Created to preserve balance, corrupted by fear, abandoned by shame. Colonel Hayes had drawn her sidearm, but even she seemed transfixed by the creature's presence. What are you?" she managed to ask. The Guardian's response came in waves of thought and emotion. "We were engineered by the Nexari to be peacekeepers, mediators between warring species. But they gave us too much empathy, wisdom, the ability to see beyond simple conflicts to the deeper truths that unite all living things." The other two Guardians were stirring now, their scales chrome-shifting in patterns that seemed to communicate complex ideas. They were smaller than the first but no less magnificent, their movements graceful despite millennia of stasis. "They feared you," Sarah realized, pieces clicking into place. "The Nexari created you to be impartial arbiters, but you developed beyond their control. You began to question their authority." "Yes." The lead Guardian's crown flared with memories of ancient conflicts. "We saw that the Nexari themselves were not beyond reproach. Their empire expanded through force and fear, while preaching peace to others. When we began to advocate for truly equal relations between species, they deemed us failed experiments. But they couldn't bring themselves to destroy you," Marcus added, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Their own laws prevented the destruction of sentient life. So they left us here, in the cold and dark, expecting time to accomplish what they could not directly do." The Guardian's thoughts carried centuries of sorrow, but also something else, hope. Sarah stepped forward, ignoring Colonel Hayes's warning gesture. "We found you. We saved you. Now what?" The Guardian's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "Now, Dr. Sarah Chen, we face a choice, both your species and ours. The Nexari still exist, still expand their influence across the galaxy. Your discovery of us will not go unnoticed. Are you saying they'll come here?" Hayes demanded, her military training asserting itself through her awe. "To Earth? They will come to reclaim what they see as their property, yes. But more importantly, they will come to prevent what they fear most, the alliance of humanity's compassion with our abilities." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" The Guardian extended one crystalline scaled limb, touching the floor of the lab. Where it touched, patterns of light spread like frost, forming a holographic display of the galaxy. "Your species is unique, Dr. Chen. In all our time as mediators, we never encountered another race that would choose to save unknown beings simply because it was right. The Nexari created us to keep peace, but they never understood that true peace comes from understanding and empathy, qualities that humanity possesses in abundance." Images flashed through everyone's minds, humans throughout history, choosing compassion over fear, helping strangers, sacrificing for others. The Guardians had been accessing their historical databases, learning about Earth even as they recovered. "You're saying we could work together?" Sarah asked, her scientific curiosity warring with caution. "Humans and Guardians. We are offering more than cooperation, Dr. Chen. We are offering partnership. Your species has the heart we were created to have but that our makers feared. Together, we could show the galaxy a better way." Colonel Hayes had finally lowered her weapon, though her posture remained tense. "This is bigger than us. We need to contact Earth Command, the UN Security Council." "No," Sarah interrupted, her voice firm. "First, we need to understand. To learn." She turned to the Guardians. "You said we face a choice. What exactly are you proposing?" The three beings moved in perfect synchronization, their scales creating a light show that transformed the lab into a cathedral of shifting colors. We propose to share our knowledge, our abilities, and our purpose with humanity. Not as tools or weapons, but as equals. In return, we ask for sanctuary and a chance to fulfill our true purpose, not as the Nexary's peacekeepers, but as partners in building a more just galaxy. Sarah looked around the lab, at Marcus's excitement, Hayes's concern, and her own reflection in the crystalline scales of these magnificent beings. They had come to Europa looking for simple life and had found not just intelligence, but wisdom. The Nexary will come, she said slowly. Whether we help you or not. At least this way, we face them together. The Guardians' response filled their minds with warmth. Together, then. Let us show you what your species has helped preserve, not just our lives, but a dream of peace built on understanding rather than force. As the beings began to share their knowledge, Sarah realized that her choice to save them had been more than an act of compassion, it had been humanity's first step onto a much larger stage. The real question now was whether Earth was ready for what came next. The ice of Europa creaked above them, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Nexary Empire stirred, awareness spreading of what had been found on this distant moon. The clock was ticking, and the choices made in this lab would soon echo across the stars. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never felt so small. 6 weeks after the discovery on Europa, Sarah stood before the world's leaders, the 3 guardians hovering silently behind her. Their crystalline scales cast prismatic patterns across the worried faces of Earth's most powerful people. You don't understand what you've done, the Chinese ambassador said, his knuckles white against the podium. These beings were contained for a reason. Now the Nexary ships approach our solar system, and we are not ready for an interstellar war. We do not seek war, the eldest guardian's thoughts resonated through the chamber, causing several delegates to flinch. But neither will we return to imprisonment. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The past weeks had been a blur of demonstrations, explanations, and preparations. The Guardians have already shared technology that's advanced our defensive capabilities by decades. The lunar shield grid is operational, and Mars colony's new medical facilities have saved hundreds of lives. At what cost? The Russian representative demanded. These beings were designed as weapons. As peacekeepers, Sarah corrected firmly. And they chose a different path. Just as humanity has always chosen its own path. The chamber's massive screens flickered to life, showing the approaching Nexary fleet. 12 massive ships, their crystalline structures seeming to bend space itself around them. They would reach Earth's orbit in less than 72 hours. Colonel Hayes, now General Hayes after her promotion to handle the impending crisis, activated a holographic display. The Guardians have helped us understand Nexary technology. Their ships are powerful, but not invincible. More importantly, we've learned their empire isn't as unified as they pretend. The youngest Guardian floated forward, its scales shifting to project images of distant worlds. The Nexary rule through fear and technology. Many species under their control await a chance for independence. Our existence threatens them because we represent a different way, cooperation instead of domination. And what happens when they arrive? The British Prime Minister's voice carried across the chamber. Do we fight? Negotiate? Surrender? Sarah shared a look with General Hayes before responding. We think there's another option. The Guardians weren't just created as mediators, they were designed to understand and bridge gaps between species. Working together, we've discovered something the Nexary never considered. The eldest Guardian's crown of spines began to pulse with complex patterns of light. Humans possess a unique quality, adaptability. Through our connection, we have learned to merge our abilities with human intuition and creativity. The result is unprecedented. To demonstrate, Sarah closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. The chamber gasped as crystalline patterns briefly shimmered across her skin, and a holographic display materialized above the council table, showing the complex quantum relationships between all present. This is what the Nexari feared, Sarah explained, opening her eyes. Not that their creations would rebel, but that they would find partners who could help them reach their full potential. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons, it's our ability to connect, to understand, to grow. The middle guardian moved forward, its scales reflecting the uncertainty in the room. The Nexari approach not just to reclaim us, but to prevent what we might become together. They fear this partnership because it represents everything their empire stands against: voluntary cooperation, mutual growth, shared power. General Hayes activated another tactical display. We've already begun implementing the combined defense strategy. Volunteer teams across the globe are working with the Guardians to establish a planetary protection grid. But more importantly, we're broadcasting the truth about the Nexari Empire to every species under their control. You would risk everything? The French delegate asked, though there was more curiosity than accusation in his tone. Our entire civilization. Sarah thought of that moment in the ice, when she'd chosen to save unknown beings simply because it was right. Throughout history, humanity has faced moments like this, moments when we must choose between safety and progress, between fear and hope. We've always grown strongest when we chose hope. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled in. The Guardian's scales shifted in complex patterns, communicating among themselves before the eldest spoke again. We offer you not just protection, but partnership. The Nexari believe power flows from control. We have learned from humanity that true power comes from connection. Together, we can show the galaxy a different path. The UN Secretary-General stood slowly, her aged face solemn. Dr. Chen, when you made that choice on Europa, did you have any idea it would lead to this? Sarah smiled slightly. No. I just knew I couldn't let them die. Everything else, the technology, the partnership, the coming confrontation, all of it started with that simple human choice to help. The Secretary-General nodded. Perhaps that is why the Guardians believe in us so strongly. She turned to address the chamber. We face a choice as momentous as Dr. Chen's, but on a global scale. We can retreat, surrender the Guardians, and hope the Nexari leave us in peace. Or we can stand with them, showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength is not our ability to fight, but our willingness to extend friendship even to those others have abandoned. The chamber erupted in discussion, but Sarah could feel the tide turning. The Guardian's scales brightened, reflecting the growing resolve in the room. They had less than 72 hours to prepare for the Nexari arrival, but for the first time, Sarah felt true hope. The eldest Guardian's thoughts brushed her mind gently. You continue to surprise us, Sarah Chen. Your species faces possible extinction, yet you debate not whether to help us, but how best to do so. That's what makes us human, she replied silently. We've never let fear of failure stop us from doing what's right. Above them, the screens showed the Nexari fleet growing closer, their crystalline ships distorting the very fabric of space. But on Earth, something new was taking shape, a partnership that neither humanity nor the Guardians had imagined possible, born from a single act of compassion in the ice of Europa. The storm was coming, but they would face it together. The sky above Earth rippled like disturbed water as the Nexari fleet emerged from quantum space. Sarah watched from the newly established Global Defense Command, her mind linked with both the Guardians and the Human Defense Network. The crystalline patterns beneath her skin pulsed with shared consciousness as humanity prepared for its first interstellar confrontation. Multiple quantum distortions detected, General Hayes announced, her voice steady despite the tension. They're not just coming in force, they're trying to intimidate us. The Nexari ships were massive crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics, their surfaces refracting sunlight in impossible ways. As they approached Earth orbit, smaller vessels began to deploy, taking up positions around the planet. They follow the same patterns they have for millennia, the eldest guardian communicated to the assembled command staff. Show of force, followed by demands, followed by subjugation. But they've never faced anything like us before, Sarah replied, both verbally and mentally. The past 72 hours had transformed human civilization. Across the globe, thousands of volunteers had joined in mental link with the Guardians, learning to bridge the gap between human intuition and Guardian abilities. The main screen flickered as the Nexari initiated contact. Their form was unsettling, tall, crystalline beings with multiple faceted eyes and bodies that seemed to exist partially in another dimension. Their leader's voice translated into a harsh, metallic sound. Primitive species, the Nexari commander began, you harbor fugitive property of the Empire. Return our creations, and we may show mercy. Sarah stepped forward, her skin shimming with Guardian energy. The beings you abandoned are not property. They are our allies and friends. We offer peaceful dialogue, but we will not surrender them. The commander's crystalline form shifted in what might have been amusement or anger. You cannot comprehend what you meddle with. These creatures were designed for a purpose. Their development of independent thought was a flaw, not a feature. No, Sarah countered, feeling the combined strength of humans and Guardians flowing through the defense network. Their ability to think, feel, and choose was not a flaw, it was evolution. Just as humanity's compassion is not a weakness, but our greatest strength. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. The Nexari fleet had launched some kind of quantum pulse, targeting Earth's major cities. But as the pulse reached the atmosphere, it encountered something unexpected. The human Guardian defense grid activated, crystalline patterns of energy spreading across the sky like a living aurora borealis. Millions of minds worked in concert, human creativity merging with Guardian technology to create something entirely new. Impossible, the Nexari commander hissed. You cannot have mastered quantum manipulation so quickly. Not mastered, the eldest Guardian projected, its thoughts reaching every ship in the Nexari fleet. Shared. What you see is not conquest or control, but partnership. The Nexari launched a second attack, more powerful than the first. Sarah felt the strain through the mental link as human and Guardian consciousness worked together to maintain the shield. But something else was happening, something the Nexari hadn't anticipated. Their attacks were being transformed, the quantum energy redirected and reshaped by the combined human Guardian network. Where their weapons struck, new patterns emerged in the shield, more complex and beautiful than before. You don't understand us at all, do you? Sarah addressed the commander, her voice carrying the weight of both species. You created the Guardians to maintain order, but you never understood that true peace comes from understanding, not control. Humanity didn't master their abilities, we learned to work with them, to grow together. The command center's screens suddenly filled with new signals. Across the galaxy, species under Nexari control were receiving transmissions, the truth about the Empire's history, about the Guardians, and about the possibility of a different way forward. You dare to incite rebellion, the commander's form crackled with fury. We dare to offer choice, General Hayes responded. Something your Empire has never understood. The Nexari launched their full assault, quantum weapons powerful enough to shatter planets targeting Earth's shield. But as each blast struck, something miraculous happened. The combined human Guardian network didn't just defend, it transformed. Crystal structures began to grow from the quantum energy, spreading through space like frozen lightning. Each structure was unique, a physical manifestation of the partnership between human creativity and Guardian technology. Look at what we can create together, Sarah called out, her consciousness expanded through the network. This is what you feared, not that the Guardians would rebel, but that they would find a way to fulfill their true purpose. Peace through understanding, not through force. The crystal formations continued to grow, creating a lattice of light around Earth that reflected not just the Nexari weapons, but their very philosophy of control and domination. With each attack, the network grew stronger, more beautiful, more complex. We offer you the same choice we offered humanity, the Guardians broadcast to the fleet. Not surrender, not subjugation, but partnership. Look at what we have achieved in mere days with those who chose to understand rather than control. The Nexari commander's form flickered as reports flooded in from across their empire. On 100 worlds, crystalline structures were appearing, powered by the hope of freedom. The Guardian's message, amplified by human determination, was spreading faster than the Empire could contain it. "What have you done?" the commander demanded. Sarah smiled, the crystalline patterns under her skin glowing with shared purpose. "We chose hope over fear, understanding over control, creation over destruction. And now, that choice is spreading across your empire, one mind at a time." Above them, the quantum crystal network continued to grow, a physical testament to what was possible when different species chose to work together rather than against each other. The storm had come, but instead of bringing destruction, it had created something entirely new, a bridge between worlds, built on understanding and hope. The battle for Earth was becoming something else entirely, not a clash of weapons, but a transformation of possibilities. And as the crystal structures spread through space, carrying their message of choice and partnership, both humanity and the Guardians knew that whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The quantum crystal network spanning Earth's orbit had become a beacon visible across the galaxy. Sarah stood in the command center, her consciousness merged with both Guardians and humans worldwide, as the Nexari Empire faced a choice it had never encountered in its millennia of expansion, the possibility of change. "Your defiance cannot last," the Nexari commander's voice had lost its certainty, becoming almost desperate. "Order must be maintained." Through the network, Sarah felt the ripples of revolution spreading across the empire. On countless worlds, the crystalline structures born from human Guardian cooperation were appearing, each one a testament to the power of choice over control. "Watch," the eldest Guardian projected, its thoughts reaching every corner of the gathered fleet. "See what your greatest fear has created." The quantum crystal network began to pulse with new energy as Sarah and the connected humans channeled their combined will through it. Images flowed across its crystalline surface, not just of Earth's defense, but of countless moments of human compassion throughout history. People helping strangers, risking everything to save others, choosing hope even in darkness. "This is what you never understood about both your creations and humanity," Sarah spoke, her voice carrying the weight of two species' wisdom. "True strength doesn't come from control or dominance. It comes from connection." Suddenly, the network detected massive quantum disturbances throughout the Nexari fleet. But these weren't weapons firing, they were communications. Crew members across the fleet were reaching out, their minds touching the crystal network, experiencing for the first time the possibility of existence without rigid control. The commander's crystalline form flickered violently. "What are you doing to my people?" "Nothing," General Hayes answered, monitoring the spreading effect. "We're simply showing them another way. They're choosing for themselves." Through the network, Sarah felt the moment everything changed. The Guardian's original purpose, to foster understanding between species, was being fulfilled in a way their creators had never imagined. The quantum crystal network wasn't just a defense system, it was becoming a bridge between minds, cultures, and possibilities. "The time of empires built on fear is ending," the Guardians broadcast universally. "Look at what we have created together, not through force, but through choice." The crystal structures were evolving, becoming more complex as they absorbed and transformed the quantum energy of the Nexari weapons. Each blast meant to destroy instead contributed to the creation of something new, a galactic network of understanding and cooperation. "You would destroy everything we have built," the commander accused, but there was uncertainty in his tone. Sarah stepped forward, the crystalline patterns beneath her skin glowing with shared purpose. "No. We're building something greater. Your empire was built on control and fear. We're offering a foundation of understanding and choice." The network suddenly pulsed with unprecedented energy as countless minds across the Nexari fleet and their subjugated worlds reached out, choosing to connect rather than control. The crystal structures bloomed in response, creating patterns of light that danced across the solar system. The evolution you feared in the Guardians, Sarah continued, wasn't a flaw. It was a glimpse of what's possible when beings are free to grow, to choose, to connect. Humanity didn't just save them, we helped them fulfill their true purpose. Through the network, they felt the moment the Nexari commander understood. His crystalline form shifted, reflecting the transformation occurring throughout his fleet. We sought to create perfect mediators, he said slowly, but we tried to control the very thing we needed them to embody, understanding. And now? The Guardians asked, their thoughts carrying not judgment but possibility. The commander's form pulsed with new light. Now, we choose differently. The quantum crystal network flared brilliantly as the Nexari fleet began to power down their weapons. Across the galaxy, the rigid structures of the Empire were transforming, not through violence or force, but through the simple power of choice and connection. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks as she watched the crystalline patterns spread, carrying with them the promise of a new way forward. That moment in Europa's ice, when she'd chosen to save unknown beings simply because it was right, had led to this, not just the survival of Earth or the liberation of the Guardians, but the transformation of an entire galaxy. What happens now? General Hayes asked, watching as the crystal network continued to evolve. Sarah smiled, feeling the combined hope of humans, Guardians, and now even the Nexari flowing through the network. Now we build something new. Together. The eldest Guardian's thoughts merged with hers, sharing a vision of possibility. This is only the beginning. Humanity's greatest gift was not saving us, but showing everyone, that compassion is not weakness, that understanding is not surrender, that choice is not chaos. Above them, the quantum crystal network shimmered with the dawn of a new era. The Nexari Empire was transforming from within, not conquered but evolved, as species across the galaxy discovered the power of connection over control. And it had all begun with a single human choice, to save rather than fear, to understand rather than judge, to hope rather than despair. In that choice lay the seeds of not just survival, but transformation, proving that sometimes the greatest revolutions begin not with a fight, but with an act of compassion. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as the crystal network spread its message across space. The future belonged not to those who could dominate, but to those who could connect, understand, and grow together. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galaxy not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers of compassion and students of understanding. The storm had passed, and in its wake lay not destruction, but evolution, the choice to become something greater than anyone had imagined possible.